now I'll call the Caribou City Council meeting November 9th to order. And the first item tonight on the agenda is public input. Anyone that would like to speak on any items on the agenda or not on the agenda, can please come forward to the podium. Budget is public input tonight, as is the general assistance ordinance, so if it's anything to do with that, that would be during that agenda item. Anything else from anyone?
Oh, shy. Good evening. My name is Mike Quinlan. First of all, my question is this being broadcast successfully this evening? Do we know? Has it received
You
word?
are on TV. It appears to be successful.
He's kind of half on.
Is the sound coming through?
As far as I know, if Gary wants to turn the sound up, we can.
No, I'm just wondering if everybody's familiar with how poor the service has been.
Oh, yeah.
broadcast.
Oh, yeah.
And we're familiar with, is it Time Warner or is it
Yeah.
us?
Time
Time
warner.
Warner.
Time Warner. And what is in fact the issue that's happening with it?
They've replaced most of their equipment, both inside our building and at their end. So there was a couple of pieces of equipment that were causing the problem.
Oh, glad to hear it's resolved. That's
We
awesome.
hope.
So I wanted to just speak briefly about the Caribou Chamber of Commerce. I'm not in favor of the fact that we're choosing to exclude them from funding. And I'm wondering if somebody could talk to me about the fact that some TIP money would be utilized to help fund this money, which in fact wouldn't increase my taxes.
Mike, I guess that will come up during, if you want to bring that up, we can bring it up during the budget session.
No, if you're going to talk to it, I'm fine. We can talk to it then.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
fine.
no.
Okay. All right.
You can speak when we come into the budget session.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
We'll do it then. Thank you.
thank you. Anything else from anyone? Declaration of conflict of interest from any of the city councils regarding any agenda items? None. Consider authorizing the minutes of the following meetings: the July 7th, 2015 council workshop, October 26, 2015 city council meeting, October 21st, 2015 budget public forum, and October the 26th, 2015 special council meeting.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Passed.
Just be advised, I wasn't at the July 7th, but I voted.
Okay. Consent agenda, October 2015 library report, October 2015 fire department report, and October 2015 police department report, and approval of license, and that's for the American Legion. Any questions or comments on any of the reports?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor McDonough, seconded by Councilor Martin. All those in favor? Passed. Number 5, city-owned property. Manager Blease.
On the following pages is a list of the city-owned property as was discussed during the budget public forums. The property highlighted in yellow is what I've identified as possibly could be sold. Some of these lots would likely have little or no value to people as they are not buildable or likely not buildable due to city zoning or shoreline zoning. Property highlighted in green is tax-acquired property that people have payment arrangements on. Some of these will be paid off, but there are some that will likely never get caught up as it stands today. The council could put some or all of these properties up for bid. The council could also give the owners a set amount of time, say 3 months or 6 months, for them to pay it off before putting it out for bid. For some of these, it may require them to get a loan through a bank if they were to pay off the full amount. Council could also choose to waive interest if they wanted to as well. I do want to remind everybody that with the tax-acquired property policy changes a few years ago, we don't have this problem going forward. The list of properties is on the following pages.
Are any of these grandfathered or anything because of the policy beforehand?
Certainly, we wouldn't make new arrangements with most of them if they, based upon the new policy. But some of them will be paid off, in fairly short order. But it's still up to the council to decide if they wanted to sell them, they could.
But
We have a property here that was tax acquired in 2002. So are you saying that no taxes have been charged to that?
No, the taxes still get charged on an annual basis to those, so it gets rolled into their balance due.
How can that be if it's tax acquired?
We still calculate the taxes for their property.
Okay.
I've been looking at this, and there's a property on here that an agreement was made in 2011 for taxes beginning in 1999, 16 years ago. Right now, there's $29,351 owed against this piece of property. And they're paying $100 a month. That's going to take 25 years, and this does not count the money that's supposedly accruing in the taxes today. They're paying $1,200 a year. Their taxes, if they were to pay taxes, it's not showing on the city of Caribou because it says 0, but at today's tax rate is $1,447 a year. So they're about $250 in the hole by paying this. There's no way. Who did this? Who's minding the store? Who even put this kind of agreement on a 16-year-old tax bill that nobody apparently had been paying? I don't know how that got there. There's another one that's the same way, 25 years to pay off. $50 a month they're paying since 2002. Right now, the bill is $15,174. And they're paying $600 a year, and the taxes are accruing at $1,055 a year. There's $84,480 on 11 properties that are in this old system or whatever you want to call it, but some of them have been put in there in 2014. Now, there are several here that I think in maybe 3 years' time can pay off the old debt and maybe be working on the new one. But this is just, I don't know how we got here. How did we get here with this? How did this even, who made the payment plan at something like this, at $100 a month for a tax bill, $30,000 in taxes? I mean, we got to do something. This is not right, especially to the taxpayers who actually pay their bills on time and are struggling to do it. This doesn't even make sense to me at all. I don't know where this came from. But I don't know, I don't think they can get a loan from the bank, because if they don't own it, if this is in the city's, this is owned by the city now and it's in their name, I don't think that they're going to get a bank loan.
They'd essentially have to buy it back from the city. So
Right, you'd have to turn it back over to them so they could try to get a loan,
No,
but,
they would take the mortgage out to buy it back from the city is how that would work, just like buying a house.
and they would
from the
allow,
city.
you think a bank would allow that, okay? Okay,
I think so.
yeah, okay. And whether they even have the credit, but I can't see giving them 3 months or whatever to pay, because some of these, it's not gonna happen, they're gonna lose their house. I don't know what the 100% solution would be, but we've got to do something with this, because this is just, I mean, I can't, this is ridiculous. I can't imagine that this is even was allowed to happen. And I know it was another administration, but did somebody come along and say, hey, look at this? Are they paying their bills? Can you tell me if they're paying their bills monthly?
Yeah, these arrangements were made even prior to me.
Oh, I know, I can see that. 1999, I can see that. The thing is anybody looking at this and saying, holy cow, this isn't working, can we do something with
Yes,
this?
and we call them all the time and we ask them, can you get a loan? We've done all of that with all these people. And they're at the point where they tell us, no, I can't do any more than that.
Well,
And that's where it has to come to you guys. But prior councils, I've brought this several times to prior councils, and they were like, work with them. They didn't want to take their homes.
well, I don't either, but,
No,
you know.
I understand, I do. And
Who wouldn't want to live for a hundred?
The
Yeah.
If they miss a payment, we're after them, okay, you didn't make your payment, we're, oh, I forgot, and they're coming in, they're making it. So
You know.
yes, I totally agree with you.
$100 a month, I'd like to live like it
Absolutely,
too.
yeah, and that's what we tell them, that it's not fair to everybody
No,
else.
well,
But
we-
we're at the point that they told us there's nothing more they can do.
Well, then they can't afford the house. Okay, so we've got to do something with this, we really do.
Yeah, most of these payment arrangements have been made in 2011, 2012, and so on, so,
No, that's the current arrangement. Sometimes we change them, we threaten them and say, okay, we need to increase it more. So we make new arrangements with them to at least increase it a little bit more. We kind of push them. Some of these, I'd say probably 4 or 5 were made even before I got here.
Yeah.
And we've been trying, so the dates you see on here are the latest arrangement that was made.
Well, I think we've got to foreclose on it, okay. Something's got to give.
I just think they need, if you're gonna give them time, I don't know if 3 months is enough. If you're gonna, try to give them a deadline, but that's up to you guys.
Well, there's a few in here that are doable, and I think that they'll be able to pay it off, because the payments are more, reasonable, but, these others,
Yes, and there's a handful in here too,
Yeah.
that, definitely, they've been working very hard
yeah.
at getting it caught up, and they're almost there, so I would hate to do anything
Right,
with those.
right, and I
But
agree
these
with you
really
there,
old
but,
ones,
yeah,
I totally agree.
yeah, something, yeah, I think we've got to, because it's going to go on like that into infinity. It'll
Well,
never be, yeah, okay, thanks.
Are they verbal agreements, or is there
No,
something
they're
in written? Is there
Yeah.
time limits on, it's gonna be $100 a month for X amount of
No,
years,
at
or?
that time,
it
there was
just
no
wide
time
open?
limit.
Okay.
Yeah, my policy was always to try to get them caught up within a year.
Right.
But prior to me, she made those arrangements with them.
Just kind of open-ended, so we can
Right.
change the contract or whatever, the agreement or whatever, it's not legally binding as far as there's no date on,
There's no
them.
deadline, no.
okay, so they can be changed.
but it can be changed.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was,
When do we deal with the remainder of the tax-acquired properties? Shortly?
Correct. At the next, within about 2 weeks from now is when we tax acquire the next round of properties. So it'll be up for council discussion at the first meeting in December.
So maybe not including these, but some of these other ones that we're looking at potentially selling, not these ones that have an agreement, might be the time to discuss that, because you can put them all out in the same package.
We certainly can, yep. And some of these other ones, highlighted in the yellow have been out for property or for sale already.
And there was no interest at all.
Maybe if you put them back out again with not necessarily no minimum on them and see what we get. It'd be better to get them back on the tax rolls than to not have them at all.
Yep.
On there and put a few at a time or whatever, so.
So if we're gonna address the ones that are in the payment plan, could we check the legal obligations so that we don't end up going to court and all that stuff? Especially if we decide to change the mode of operation on those?
Bill, it's stated in the arrangement that if they miss a payment, that their contract is void at that time.
Yeah.
So as soon as they miss one, we can, instead of saying, hey,
Did we
it'd be
do-
nice that you missed one.
Well, you said that
I
some of
guess,
them have already missed them, what, before?
In the past,
In the
yeah, but
past,
then, we write them like a letter, and they'll come in and pay, but, and then there's others we have to chase, and things like that, but as soon as they break that, we can. put it there.
Are the ones paying 200, 250, I guess 250 is the high, or 300, they're making headway, is that correct?
Yes, that's, yep, they are. And before you would jump to saying, let's put these out to bid, I'd like to break this down a little
Right.
further to see, because there are some people who have been trying very hard to try to get caught up.
Yeah, those should be separated from,
Right.
okay.
And I did break several of them down, and there's only a few that are ridiculous. The others are working, and it will work. If they continue to make their payments, they will pay it off.
Yeah, there's probably about 6 that are,
Yeah.
And the set amount of time, that's something to look at too. 3 months is a pretty tight frame as well. but you can't go forever.
Well, even 3 months to make some kind of arrangement, come up with some kind of,
Better arrangement.
yeah.
And we try all the time, and it's just, you can't squeeze as much.
I know.
But yeah, you've got to cut the ties. though.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, I would suggest that we make a list of the ones that aren't going to come out of the hole here at all, and deal with those, and decide a time frame. And, you know, you say 3 months, but today getting mortgages, I don't know how long that takes. Takes a while. So, you know, we don't want to put anybody out of their house if that.
Well, I
that's
wouldn't
the case,
suggest
so-
putting them out of their house, but maybe 3 to 6 months to come up with a viable
Yeah,
plan.
yeah,
You know, to,
yeah. I would say 6 months is very reasonable.
Put the pressure on.
right.
And there are some other properties on here, I guess, that could be put out, tax acquired properties that are just straight tax acquired, so.
Just read a motion on that.
Yeah, we should have a motion to come back with a new, well, no, we're just gonna come back with a new list, so,
And potentially look at the other properties
Yeah.
when we deal with the
yeah.
upcoming tax acquired.
So, yeah, we don't need a motion, we'll let Wanda bring in a new list and we'll go from there. All right. General Assistance Ordinance, that's a public hearing. Oh, sorry.
Hey. All right, Cochrane Cemetery, did you engage with the descendant?
Not successfully, if I recall correctly.
Okay,
The descendants of the Cochrane Cemetery.
all right.
So that's right.
Are we done?
Done.
Okay. General Assistance Ordinance, and this was introduced at the last hearing, and so we
Private
need a,
cemetery.
or the last meeting, so we need a public hearing tonight. And then we can take action on the General Assistance Ordinance. So we will open the public hearing at 6:17. And Manager Blease, are you gonna handle this, or is,
We'll let Ms. Farren speak to the ordinance.
Good evening, councilors. This is our annual review of the general assistance orders. Guidelines are given to us through the Maine Municipal Association and DHHS, and they come to you tonight for adoption. We had changes to the overall maximum, and the overall maximum is the amount of money that if someone is under that they could possibly qualify for general assistance, and if they're over that overall maximum, they generally do not qualify. An example with the overall maximum, because most of the households I deal with are small, 1 or 2 people. And it was $514 for one individual, it's gone up to $603 for Aroostook County. The other maximum that's changed has to do with the housing maximums. That's a typical one that changes every year. And these are their recommended housing maximums provided. I've never done a survey of landlords here in town. This does seem to fit into the going rates of rents that I see in landlord agreements. And then they made one small change to the Appendix D electricity maximum. I'm here if you have any questions. Any questions?
any questions from council? Any input from anyone in the audience? Declare the public hearing closed at 6:19. What is council, we need a motion from council.
Motion to accept the ordinance.
Second.
All those in favor? Approved. Budget. Manager, please.
There are a few changes in the budget presented here tonight compared to the budget that was originally presented. The largest change is that health insurance premiums have come in at only 5% higher rather than the 7% we had budgeted. Other changes based upon discussions at the forums were Public Works capital improvement amount has been taken out. Janitorial services for municipal building has been put back in. The assistant city manager position has been put back in. Council discussed reducing the fire department reserve account. I do not recommend that change. In talking with Chief Susi about the projected capital improvement plan, there were a few things missing from the original plan. While the trucks were there, other equipment such as replacing the hydraulic aerial pump for the ladder truck, SCBA replacements, and jaws replacements were not. So those would all need to be factored into the 5-year plan. In order to meet the updated plan, we should be putting $75,000 into the account in 2016. If we do not, we will either need to put in more in the future year, or we would need to put in more in the future years. Replacement of the ladder truck scheduled for 2027 will likely cost about $1 million or more, and that shouldn't be ignored either. Council voted to move $220,575 from fund balance to compensated absences. With that, we've eliminated the $25,000 from that line this year. However, since that line is not fully funded, we'll need to put the money back in there in 2017. The budget tonight still has 12 police officer positions in the budget, does not fill the office manager at Public Works. Budget's still approximately $86,000 from having no tax increase in 2016. And to meet that, we'll have to eliminate 2 more staff and reduce services accordingly or reduce capital funding. In the budget presented tonight, we have 74.5 FTEs. This is up 1 from the October report because the council consensus was to reinstate the assistant city manager position. In the general fund cost for full-time staff, pay and benefits is about 52% of the operating budget. Citywide, including the enterprise budget's full-time staff, is about 57% of all city funds. While the city has great employees that pitch in and go the extra mile, I am worried if 2 more positions are eliminated, there will be severe negative impacts on the rest of the staff. The majority of the staff are already doing so many jobs, there is not much, if any, extra capacity left. I would hate for the city to lose any more good staff due to burnout from being understaffed, overworked, and underappreciated. If we're to reduce staff to have no tax increase, I believe this will become a bigger problem for the city. We are also continuing to fall further behind in compensation, not just to a 40-town comparison that was used for the wage and classification, but we're also falling behind in what other communities in Aroostook County pay their employees. This is part of the problem the city is facing in recruiting people to fill the open positions that we have. Looking ahead to 2017, we'll need to put the following amounts into the budget then. $25,000 for compensated absences, up from 0 in 16. $65,000 for Public Works Capital Reserve, up from 0 in 2016. $54,000 additional in Public Works for asphalts. We're only putting $200,000 for chip sealing in 2016. With just these things alone, the 2017 budget would need to be up $144,000. That's before we know any of the other fixed increases such as health insurance, property insurance, workers' comp, etc. With the state continuing to break its promise to the citizens of Maine and not funding revenue sharing, the city continues to face tough choices to which there is no easy answer. Providing a fair amount of information that the council requested during the budget forums on staffing, also ambulance runs from 2010, and some estimated costs of what some of the unfunded mandates are on the city of Caribou and what that costs. Most of those numbers are based upon staff time using a fully burdened labor rate and an estimated number of hours spent on each task, including trainings. We do need to have a public hearing tonight, and we can discuss the budget further.
We will declare the public hearing on the Caribou budget open at 6:23. Anyone that would like to speak regarding the city budget or anything contained within it?
Thank you. Again, Mike Quinlan, councilors, Mayor Aiken, thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak our minds. So, about the TIF financing in regards to the funding of the Chamber of Commerce, is that in fact true, that it wouldn't increase our tax dollars and the funds are there?
It increases, it doesn't increase property tax owners that aren't in the TIF district, no. Is that a fair answer?
The amount captured in the TIF district is all based upon the mill rate. If we're going to capture 100% of what we can. It's the most cost-effective way to the city because it offsets what we would have to pay in county taxes and school taxes, and also get more from revenue sharing.
So it's a net sum, zero.
Not quite zero, but
Fairly-
close.
Fairly close. So there was a lot of comments that were being talked about as to how municipalities fund Chamber of Commerce's. So I was trying to see if there was some easy numbers that could be accessed. So I called the State of Maine Chamber of Commerce and asked them how, throughout the other communities, they handle this. And they didn't really have a ready answer. So they were gracious enough to send me a directory. I started at the beginning and I tried to grab 12 municipalities just to see. And I started from the beginning and worked my way down. So out of the 12 that I was able to get in contact with, 9 actually funded their Chamber of Commerce at some level, anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000 in various forms, either through membership dues or whether it's through direct financing. Most, if not all, did provide some place for their Chamber of Commerce to be able to conduct their businesses. A lot of them provide a great service to their communities, such as providing relocation packages for new people coming into the market. It's a great first stop off for a lot of people new to our community. A lot of people think about relocating here, call the Chamber of Commerce. It's a pretty common practice. Of the 3 that didn't fund from their municipality to the Chamber of Commerce, 1 had recently disbanded. The other one, I don't know if they truly understand what I was asking for, so I think there was some lost in translation there. And then the other one was the City of Bangor. So the City of Bangor was able to fund via membership only. So what I would say to you is that as you're considering these things, and if it's not going to have an economic impact on me as a citizen, it is generally accepted that the municipality is going to do what they can to help support this. I know it's been a difficult transition over the past few years where being a department of the city and now being on their own. But I think more so than just the money itself is that what that message is sending. We presume to be certified business friendly. And so my only question to you through this process is as you go about spending our dollars here in the city, what do you feel as though in the upcoming budget speaks to the fact that we are committed to being certified business friendly? I'll just take a seat. You wouldn't mind addressing it at any level if anybody feels anything? I'd appreciate an answer. Thank you.
I don't think one is pertinent to the other. First of all, the chamber isn't a business. So it doesn't really go with the business-friendly deal. Secondly, I think Caribou is very business-friendly. A lot of time is spent here in trying to attract businesses. A lot of effort is put into it. And I don't think any businesses are approaching the chamber to come to Caribou. At least if they are, I'm certainly not aware of them. No. So, you know, our resources from that standpoint of attracting businesses are through the city. We do support the chamber to the tune of, I don't know, $9,000. You know, paying phone bills and paying heat and everything else and power and so on. So, you know, the support is there from that standpoint. And I think we made the comment at the last meeting that I think City Council will continue to give that support. At least I know I will, and I think the other members of the council will, although I can't speak for them. But that's just, you know, that's just the way I think that we are supporting the chamber. We are supporting businesses in Caribou. And
Is there any line items within the budget that you would say, you know, Mike, I understand you own a business here in Caribou. You know, this is how we're committed to being certified business friendly, and this is how we're spending our money because money talks, and how we choose to spend
I
that
think
money.
many of the things that we do here, and even coming down to the things like Thursdays on Sweden Street and everything else, all attract people to this city.
So in this current budget that's being voted on right now, we're doing the one side versus the other. Where in the expenses right now do you feel as though those dollars being spent are aligned with that commitment to be certified business friendly?
Half of the manager's salary. He spends over half his time on trying to attract businesses. That's, I mean, ask him.
Oster and I speak often about the opportunities that we have here in Caribou. I think he's doing a great job.
Any other counselors want to speak?
I'll say something. I did the same thing. I work with a lot of municipalities, called around, got the same, pretty much the same kind of feedback. Some do, some don't. One of the things that struck me is in researching that is the city of Bangor, and they do an area chamber of commerce, and a lot of the municipalities around them, you know, is involved. So I wonder, and I talked to the manager about this earlier today, and you know, is there an avenue to, you know, connect with Central Aroostook, and is there any savings there? I don't know, but I did get similar results, and I do think that, you know, the chamber, I'm supportive of the chamber. It's economic development, it's business. We need that in this town, in the city, and we need to continue to support that, in my opinion.
I too did the same thing. Except I wasn't fortunate enough to get a list from them after the fact. Basically, the answer I got was back, we're not aware of any.
Of communities that do not.
Correct. No, they do.
They
They thought
do.
that they were also, according to the person I contacted, they thought that they were all basically self-sufficient. See?
Yeah, I found out as I started asking the questions that
Yeah.
it isn't, it's how you ask the question. So it's, there was a community that they represent two communities in this Chamber of Commerce. Each of those communities purchases a membership of $5,000 apiece. And so when you ask them on the onset, you know, are you supported by the municipalities? And they would tell you, no, we're all membership driven. So that's why you gotta ask the question the right way to get the results that you need. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting, I had to go back, and then I had to go back and ask the question again and work my way through. And that's where I arrived at 9 out of 12 for that I contacted. At some level, support their Chamber of Commerce monetarily, either through membership or direct operational budget.
One would think that the big Chamber of Commerce in the sky would know that information, though.
I would agree.
One would think, you know?
Agree.
So,
Apparently, they're in the process of putting together a question and answer of all their 65 different chambers across the state to understand that better.
yeah. So, and, you know, the servicing kind that we provide with the building and electricity and heat and everything like that, almost $10,000, so I feel that that's sufficient also.
How much, if they weren't there, would the city incur?
The Nylander would probably be closed.
Be sold.
So we're holding on to the Nylander because of the Chamber of Commerce. So that the Nylander would not be here if it wasn't for the Chamber of Commerce.
It's a possibility.
Because there's very little
Possibility.
activity.
Yeah, but it's a possibility. I don't think anybody can sit here and say it would be gone.
So we
No,
would
first of
incur
all, you'd
some
have to sell
costs
it for it to be gone.
regardless if the chamber was there or not. We're just fortunate enough that they're there to mind the store so the pipes don't freeze.
Well, it may be, we talked about that too, and it probably would be winterized and not, you know, that was a conversation we had too, that if the chamber wasn't there, because there's not activity that goes through there, you know, like it used to, as far as looking at the, you know, the collections and stuff like that. And I know we had mentioned about if they weren't there, that would probably would be winterized or
I know
something.
the council is taking up that topic as we speak. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak on that.
Thank you.
Appreciate the work you guys do.
Anyone else that would like to offer public input on the budget?
I'm like a bad penny, I keep showing that. I'm Gail Hagelstein. 3 points about getting that second full-time position back at the library. One is a point of curiosity. If our library director had come on 3 months before, she did, in June of last year, if Jean had retired 3 months before, June of last year, If Katie, thank you. If Katie had been hired to fill Jane's position 3 months beforehand, would you have cut that position the way you did last year? Just a question. Or would it have been fait accompli and I wouldn't be here asking for this position again? 2, volunteers, professional staff, and grants. When a library does not have volunteers, it is up to the professional staff to cover all bases. And they're operating at a survival level, similar to what I'm hearing from other city department heads, either last week or the week before. It's like asking Brady and Gronkowski to go out and play offense and defense and all positions. It doesn't work. They lose, as the library has been. Once volunteers come back, it begins to free up the professional staff to do what they were hired to do. There is a line. It takes more time and effort. It's not efficient anymore to train and educate those volunteers to the professional level. It has to be the professional staff. And a case in point is the grant writer. I don't know whether y'all have ever had to write a grant. It's work. It's time consuming. Some would even call it rather dull and boring. Gathering all the information, all the data, putting it together, making sure it falls within the parameters of the grant. This past year, over almost $34,000 was brought in by grants. Donations of almost $2,200. In-kind donations of $2,400. And federal reimbursement, and I'm not sure whether this has ever shown up on a library budget before, but it's money that is also coming in, of almost $5,200. Which comes to a grand total of almost $44,000. This is money that's not showing up in the budget for the city of Caribou. It is not coming out of the pockets of the taxpayers. This is money that's actually coming in because your staff, your professional staff at the library has the chance to do this. And one might also say at almost $44,000, it will help cover that second full-time position. Just a point. The third point is, I know libraries, inside out, backwards, upside down. I've directed more libraries than most people actually enter. I have worked with librarians, library directors, media specialists, and there is one constant throughout the whole profession. And that is, we know the difference between needs and wants. We are not a mandated entity by governments. We are a mandated entity by our populace, by our citizens, and by our taxpayers. I have never seen a librarian come in and ask for the sun, stars, and the moon, because we never are going to get them. We always ask for our needs. We're low-hanging fruit, and it's easy to pick us, and it's easy to cut us. Now, I'm not asking for anything in outer space. My feet are firmly planted on the ground. This is a need. And I stand here before you as a retired master librarian with plenty of years of experience behind me, as a volunteer across the street, as a patron, and yes, as a member of the Board of Trustees. I walk into that library and I see the need. I know the need. I can smell the need. It needs to happen. And you're the only ones who can help us make that happen. If this was a want, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't waste my time. And I wouldn't waste yours either. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments on the budget? Any counselors have any comments on the budget?
I think it's, I think we've actually, my opinion, moved backwards from the last one. We had a budget that was $62,000 less than the previous year. Now we're at a budget that's $86,000 over, and we've moved 25,000 of the uncompensated funds balance, taking 15 away from the chamber. So I don't think this is a step forward, my opinion.
Any other comments? Yep.
I think one thing that people probably don't realize, because it surprised me, but there are unfunded mandates that the city has to pay for. And they cost the city $166,240 a year. This is stuff that the city has to pay for that they don't get back. State says, or the federal government, probably the state mostly, says that they have to do all these. And you could get it in the packet or whatever, but there's a whole list of things that they have to do totaling $166,240 that they don't get reimbursed for. That's just one thing that the state's not doing for us, among other things. And I know the library, I know there's so many people that need so many things, but I don't know, should we, like Austin said, that we would have to perhaps let go 2 more people to meet the budget. So do we take somebody out of one place to put them in the library? I don't know what the answer is, but yeah, I think we're going to end up looking at a little bit of a tax rate increase, whether we like it or not, because I just don't know where, I don't think that we can cut anybody else and operate this city effectively. I just don't see it. Mike, can I ask you a question real quick? I think I asked you last time, in your budget, you've budgeted for that, for one of the 2 officers that you're down, right?
Correct.
So actually, we're looking at probably if we had to fund only 1 more officer, if it,
Correct.
okay. I thought that's what it was, but.
Any other comments?
Nope.
Anything else from the audience? Last chance. We'll now declare the public hearing on the budget over. Chief Susie, I want to sit down and talk with you sometime in the next day or 2. Go over some numbers with you, if you don't mind. Other business? Any other business? Next meeting dates, November 23rd, 2015, and December the 14th, 2015. Is that our only meeting in December?
Yep.
14th? All right. Anybody want to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Passed. Thank you very much, everyone.